is rolling.
Okay, so you have to ask me questions when you get started.
I have to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Tony, what does first come love mean to you?
You know, I've been thinking about this a little bit, but when you walked in here with the camera, so okay, we're ready to shoot, I really had to start thinking about it. And I wanted to do something a little bit offbeat when it comes to first comes love, so maybe this will work. I want you to think about the first time you fell in love. And it was probably junior high, maybe a little bit earlier than that. I'm not talking about falling in love with your puppy. I'm talking about, it's like it's like, yeah, there's attraction, right? And all the stuff that's going on and everything. And then eventually, then what happens to the first love? You break up, right? And your heart's broken and people are crying and there's gnashing of teeth and I'm never going to fall in love again. And it's awful, right?
Right.
Well, it's kind of interesting is that, and then maybe you fall in love again, and then maybe you fall in love again, and then at some point in time, you're a little bit slower in this process of, well, I'm not going to fall in love so fast, and you start to figure out that maybe there's something else I ought to figure out before I fall in love, and so as we're actually, turning on the cameras and getting things, I'm thinking, well, maybe. That's an analogy, that's a metaphor that will make sense to our watchers and listeners today, because oftentimes in recruiting talent, that kind of happens. Why that happens in the beginning, and normally the reason that happens is a level of desperation. So it may not be that way in your love life, but in recruiting, what happens is for a long period of time, I find that many of our clients are held hostage by high-level producers, by not being able to recruit people for a long time, and then the company says, okay, we go hire people now, and so we're desperate to fill a seat, and we go out in the candidates world, and we start to find people, and because we're desperate, and because we got to fill a seat, and because we want to get out of the rest of our world, we find this candidate who has a wonderful looking resume, they got a great experience, and they interview well. After all, they are salespeople, so they're gonna interview pretty well, normally speaking. And so we throw caution to the wind, and we overlook maybe some of the shortcomings, some of the things that we know we should be concerned about, and we might even talk about those things. But what I know about hiring and about the sales team that you eventually end up with is that, and I'm fond of saying this, is that no sales manager, no executive VP of sales has ever gone to the hiring director, the person who ultimately signs off on this hire. And when they're asked, why should we hire this individual? No one ever says, well, I think we should hire them because I think they're going to be unbelievably average. That just doesn't happen. I mean, so something happens where we believe that the candidates we're going to hire, we believe they're going to succeed. In many cases, we believe they're going to succeed really well, but they don't. And so the challenge is, well, how do we go about making good selections without falling in love? And there's a couple answers to that. One is, don't put yourself in a desperate situation. And the way you avoid that is always be prospecting, always be out in the marketplace talking to people that when the time is right, you can talk to them again. Like in one of the famous movies, Glenn Ross, I believe it is always be prospecting, always be closing. It's the same thing. Don't be held hostage by high producers. Don't be afraid to unload people that aren't doing well for you. And the way you can feel comfortable with that is by having a nice pipeline of people to talk to. And then the second thing is make sure you have a process, without sounding like a pitch for hire better salespeople. That's what it's about. Is we help companies put a process in place, and when you execute the process won't fail. So there you go. Sales Guy Unplugged.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for joining us today. Alex, thanks for producing this. You're just a wonderful person and great.